Hello everyone and welcome to our new series of the Fintelligent Investor channel, Ink2inc, where we bring to you stories of real startups, how these startups started just as an idea and are today successful companies. Today we have the founders of Ameliorate Biotech Private Limited, Dr. Rashbihari Tunga and Dr. Vinita Srivastav Tunga. This startup is being incubated at the Atal Incubation Center in Jyoti Institute of Technology Foundation, Bangalore. Ameliorate Biotech Private Limited is a science and technology focused startup striving to make lives of people better through building novel platform technologies for diagnosing diseases at an early stage. Dr. Rashbihari Tunga is the founder and director of this startup, and Dr. Vinita Srivastav Tunga is the co-founder and CTO of this startup. They are partners in personal life and professional life, and this is their joint dream. So, ma'am, sir, please tell us about yourself and your startup.
So I am Dr. Vinita. So I'm the co-founder and CTO at Ameliorate Biotech. So combining my profession of a scientist and passion of an altruist, I decided to venture into this journey of entrepreneurship almost 7 to 8 years ago. And it was started with the vision of making the lives of people better through building up certain technologies, certain platforms wherein we can diagnose diseases with similar symptoms at one go. And the whole motto behind Ameliorate was to make a company wherein we can give products which are affordable and accessible for all. Our company's motto is to make products which are affordable and accessible, especially focusing the people in the lowermost tier of social hierarchy.
I am Dr. Tunga, CEO and founder of Ameliorate Biotech Private Limited. I started my journey 20 years back with pharma and biopharma company. We started Ameliorate with the motto of to making life better, and to not only we want to make the product affordable, also we want to make the product quality wise it should be superior than the others.
So your product is something that diagnoses diseases at an early stage. So how did you come up with this novel idea? Was there any problem that you have faced that you wanted to solve, which has given birth to this idea?
Yeah, actually, it so happened that we lost, like, my family. There was a tragedy in my family, and my 11-year-old niece died of dengue. So the whole incident turned out to be like a nightmare for the entire family because the she was diagnosed with dengue, and within a week we lost her. The worst part was the postmortem analysis revealed that she had a co-infection of malaria also, which had went undiagnosed. And the tragedy behind here is that we were not in some remote place or in a small town kind of a place. We were at that time in a metro city, and she was getting her treatment at the best hospital. But then something turned out to be, at that point of time, there was no rapid diagnostics available, or don't know like what happened. But the diagnosis happened only after 3 days, and by that time her situation had deteriorated to a great extent, and then we lost her. So this incident has a profound impact on all of our lives, and it was not only this incident. Apart from that, there was another tragedy in my family somewhere in 2007. A similar kind of an incident happened wherein one of my relative died of hepatitis C, and that was also a case of misdiagnosis during the early stages. So this was the thing which had prompted us to work on it. But yeah, that was way back in 2004. At that time, we had just completed our education, and we were just going into our professional career. So this was I'll say the startup, the trigger behind Ameliorate was one of these incidents which had happened with us. Although we couldn't do at that point of time, we started bit later.
Here just I want to add something. See, basically, if you see my from my professional career, I always like to do something new, something that that is from very beginning. I have that kind of habit. And when we married, and her character is that, but I have observed that she always try to help people. He always try to help, that social impact kind of work. She want to do that, and that this kind of family tragedy will happen, and we are working in a very reputed, good position in the big company. Then we thought, why not both of our talent on a passion?
Yes.
Our passion, my passion is to do something new.
Something
Her passion,
entrepreneurial.
yeah. And her passion to help the society. So we thought that why not we should think something our own. So where we can develop something, some product which can benefit it to the lower class of people of our society.
So the spirit of entrepreneurship and the character of being helpful to people, and also a need which had to be solved,
Yeah.
a problem which had to be solved. So all this came together, and I guess somewhere that courage to step down from your positions and get into this, because startup is always an unknown territory.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
it
yes.
all has come together, right? So when you were growing up, was building a startup your original aspiration? Have you ever thought that someday you will be a startup founder?
So I'll tell you frankly, my family background a little bit, because that's what it's related to. So I come from a very middle class family, and not staying in a metropolitan city. It was a small town in Chhattisgarh. So there, like, I had seen my father excelling in his studies, and he was like topper all throughout. Same like my brother also. He studied from IIT Mumbai, and also that kind of an atmosphere was always there. Lot of pressure on me to do something good in the studies. So I used to do. I wanted to become a doctor because my brother was an engineer, and my younger brother was into finance and CA. So I wanted to come into medicine. But then fate had something else written, and it turned out to be that finally I got selected for IIT, and through GATE exam, and then that's how I started my PhD there. And so whatever I had thought I had seen, and as I grew up, I thought whatever I am doing, so that work, that knowledge should actually come to a stage where I can benefit people. So that was always at the back of my mind. And when I completed my PhD in molecular biology and went for postdoc studies in Osaka University, Japan, I did postdoc over there for 2 years. I wanted to come back to India and do something in the healthcare related field. So obviously, as a fresher coming out from college, we don't have that much of exposure, that much of experience of doing a startup, right? And you want to do something, but you don't know exactly how to. So you have to go and so I started my career with joining biopharma companies, because that's where I found that they are making certain kind of a drugs which will help the people. So that's how it all started. And then the incident which I had mentioned earlier, it had happened in 2004 and then 2007. So that thing was there, it was the trigger, it was in the back of mind. And then corporates had always felt that I cannot fulfill my passion if I continue to be in a corporate, because there the entire scenario works in a very different way. It's like somebody's telling you to do this, you do that, that's all. You can't do anything what you wanted to. So
There is some limit to your own innovation.
limit to your own innovation.
Yes.
There are other things where definitely I feel that exposure has helped me, and to do whatever I am doing today. So that kind of thing was there, and then there was also that thing that I need to change the status quo of like how things work in a corporate and how things work in a so. That's, I think I answered.
Yes, obsessed about you when you were growing up. Was this always your aspiration? Did you think that you will be a startup founder?
See, as you mentioned that when I joined IIT Kharagpur and I completed my MBA and PhD, and from that time onwards, one thing is in my mind that I have to do something, the new, something different. So that kind of passion very. So when I get a chance to work at a different pharma and biopharma company, there I initially, yes, as you mentioned that initially there's some certain rule in corporate. Within that rule, I try to do something new, but still I found that okay, whatever I have, I will try to do that. That corporate, their objective is to develop the product not for this lower class because it is a biotech product, not to the lower class of people. It should be applicable to the higher class of people. So, and their main objective was to develop the product which can launch to the European market or some
So
outside.
basically, it was like we don't have something to do with the people where there is a true need,
Yeah.
and for it will benefit the major section of the society.
Yes.
So that kind of thing was lacking in. I'm not saying that whatever the work in the bigger companies are happening, it's absolutely phenomenal, absolutely good. But then our passion was something different, and that's how we moved entirely on a different arena.
So that pull towards
Yes,
working
yes.
for the lower strata
Yes,
or for the
yes.
common people.
Common
in
people.
general.
And also we wanted to target diseases wherein most of the people are affected. Where we saw that that there are people who need it, and it was nothing that we couldn't do. With all the knowledge and with all the background, and we wanted that it can be developed, and that's what we.
When you first quit your jobs and stepped into the startup ecosystem, what were the first resources that you tapped into, and how did you utilize it first in your startup?
So what happened, like when we quit the job in 2015, it was so the first thing which we which we knew pretty well that we are scientists, and to become an entrepreneur or to open a startup, we have to wear multiple hats, and we need to have a knowledge of different areas, totally unrelated areas that of a scientist. So the first resource I would say, which was an intangible resource, that was we joined a startup company. Okay, and we wanted to understand how things work in that startup, how what are the different areas where we have to have little bit of knowledge also, otherwise it becomes very difficult. We didn't knew anything about the startup, the different terminologies being used and the different things. So that was a pretty essential step for us, for both of us, to learn first the startup ecosystem and the things over there. So we joined a company which was related to wound healing, and we worked with them as a senior scientific consultants over there, and with them we learned a lot of things in different space. So that was the first thing. If you ask us in terms of resources, so the first breakthrough happened when we won the Elevate Challenge of Karnataka Biotech and Information Technology Society. So we were one of the top 100 winners. And from there, the journey started, and that's how we got incubated at.
Yeah, just I want to add something. See, 2015 when we decided to quit the job and start our own venture. So it is a really tough job because we both left the corporate job, and then we have two kids. Their education is going on, and we have a lot of burden. We know that. But
And we
still,
also knew that the startup when we are going to join, they had already mentioned us that
so
pretty
we have-
much you won't be paid anything. You have just come here for
Oh my
learning.
god, so then that's a
Yes.
huge guts,
Yeah.
gutsy step,
So basically, 2 years we were without salary,
So,
and with kids in higher standards also, it was pretty difficult.
So I guess as it is, you learned about finance at that
Yes,
point of
yes,
So,
pretty much, pretty much.
then we start the Ameliorate Biotech 2015 October. After initiate that company, uh, Before that, as I worked with some pharma company where I worked in diagnostic device, skill development. So I have a little bit of knowledge that how to develop that, and to do a startup, whatever the resources required, we don't have that much. We know that this kind of diagnostic need lot of resource, lot of facility. We don't have. So then, first we thought that okay, how to start? We asked my family friend. They help. They support whatever way they have little money. They support us, and whatever our money we also put out there. Then we initially we start to develop the the idea to the kind of prototype kind of things, just little work, not prototype, it's just little work, how whether it will work or not. So there are two ways we decided. One is that we thought that we should collaborate with some uh, university or who has who can help us. So we tap that resource to collaborate with some university or IIT uh, where we pass out, and that is one thing. Second thing is that you know this resource, as you mentioned, that resource for biotech, it is a costly startup. It as it is a regulated product, and it is a healthcare related product. So there is a lot of money, lot of investment is required. So I am thankful that my few family friends who support at the initial stage, and then our journey started. And when we got some money, we start our activity. Then we find that okay, it is not enough because not only technical things cannot help to sustain the startup. There is a lot of other regulatory aspects like partner of incorporation certificate is required, what is GST. We don't have any knowledge about that. And how the other startup, now we are just searching how to get the fund. We have no idea how to get fund. Then we thought that okay, we need to learn how the startup ecosystem was working.
So the first thing which I felt, it was a need for public speaking. How to learn public speaking, because that is how I can pitch my idea in an influential and in a like convincing way to the investors. If that is not the case, then I would never been able to pitch into multiple forums and get some money, because biotech, as you rightly mentioned, it's a highly resource driven, and we can't expect return on investments in just 5 or 6 years. It takes even 10 years to get the product to market. So we knew all that thing. So
What are some of the challenging situations that you have faced in your startup when you just felt that you cannot go ahead? And what was something that kept you going at that point of time?
so the challenge happened during COVID itself, I'll tell you, because what happened was, it was a sudden lockdown, as we all know, and our employees, they just fled off, and we had no one to work in the lab. Although we it was a lockdown, but we made it a point that somehow managed to come to the lab and do the activities, because we knew that uh, if we don't work right now, then the critical time which is required to do the validation, the small scale validation, is not going to happen. So we needed to have the product. So there was a time when we didn't had any employees at all. So we both had to come to lab and do the work on our with our own hands, and do somehow manage the things to run the show. That's how it
And how
happened.
many employees were there?
So
were
there at
there?
that time, three people were there, and two of them had COVID also. So they just didn't wanted to come back, and they just so that was a pretty tough time. And again, that situation was bad, because we our product is dependent on blood samples. We were not getting any blood samples, any support from hospitals and even path labs. So it was a very, very difficult situation. Funds was getting exhausted. We cannot close the company. We have to keep it running. So the day-to-day cost will always be there, right? And even though the employees had left, we gave them full salary.
Okay.
Yeah. So the another critical aspect was that we had developed some clones for our process, and those clones have to be kept at -80 degrees. And if we don't attend to those samples on time, and if something happens, then we will actually be losing over 2 to 3 years of our work.
Oh my God.
So that was a very challenging situation. It was pretty tough. So somehow came out of that. And the second challenge, what I would say, and it's common for most of the biotech industries who are working on healthcare and diagnostics per se, because the regulatory hurdles are pretty much very high here.
Yes.
And since these products will be used for human healthcare for them, so what to say, the complexities are very high.
True.
And if we don't have enough, if you don't know the pathway properly, so there the challenge comes, and it is difficult. The regulatory pathway for the diagnostic products are not very clear.
So
that's
how
also a
long?
challenging thing.
How long did you have these challenges during the COVID time?
Yeah, it was pretty much till it was like 2022, 2021, till 2021, it was a very tough time.
Oh, so a lot of
almost
months.
like,
Some 10 to
almost
11
like,
months.
almost like 1 year kind of.
And then did your employees and all?
Yeah, they came back. One left, but then two came back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you wanted to add on?
Yeah. I think I will say that there's some technical challenge to that. When you develop some product, but I feel that when we raise money and when we grow little bit of development of our product, and when you interact with doctors, then we feel that we need some improvement of our product. And when some investor gives some money, and they are expecting that certain time we have the product has to be in this milestone. But as when you go to the market, interact with doctors or users, their requirement is little different. Then we need to modify that, and that kind of technical challenge, and top of that this COVID situation, and somehow we both work hard, and I will say that our team also that time those workers, those scientists, those who work with us, they help us. They give a lot of effort, and it is a minimum time frame. I will say that the product is not that much delayed, but we overcome that kind of technical challenge and we develop a good product. I will say, Civil
Yeah,
mentioned.
I'll explain about it.
That's really inspiring. That's really inspiring to know. So, what was the first milestone that your startup achieved, which you will never forget?
I would say that it was the time when we got Infosys Arohan Award
Oh,
from the hands of Sudha Murthy ma'am, and that we could get because we could successfully develop the proof of concept from the idea to the proof of concept stage. And why I would say that it was a big milestone, because getting that award at that level, at that platform itself, was giving credibility to the work we did till that point of time. And that was the one thing where our company was known by many people. Many people got to know, it was published in the newspapers and all. So I felt that yes, successful development from idea to the proof of concept stage, kind of a prototype we had developed that time, and and also a small scale validation we conducted with the hospital here in Bangalore. So I feel that was a good milestone that we
when was
achieved.
this?
It was in 2019.
2019, as I mentioned that when we got the Fukushima award, and it not only boosts us that whatever we have done earlier, always we have a fear that okay, whether this idea will work or whether we will be able to succeed, because we never work in a startup, we don't know the startup journey. But really that award, that gold, Argon Infosys Gold Award, which boosts us, and this recognition by this jury members, and they really help us that no, we can do that. We can develop the product and we can go ahead. And that also help us to raise the fund because this Infosys Argon Award, once we get known to many people, and
And it will boost the investor
Yeah.
confidence
Yeah.
also in your company.
Yeah, so I would like to add to what Dr. Tunga said that yes, it was a very big recognition on a very renowned platform like Infosys. But then the grant money was, the award money was not enough, and it gave us a platform where the VCs can see where we could actually tap on the equity funding. So I think it was a big milestone we achieved.
So this the VC started to recognize
Yeah.
India
Yes.
and started to invest
Yes,
in India.
Yes.
Okay.
After that,
Post
we
that
like,
only we actually raised like
1.9
1.9
In
CR.
equity fund.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you were open to giving out equity.
Yeah, pretty much, because we knew that in biotech we can't survive on grants and things like small fundings. We needed to have money because if we want to have a sensitive and affordable product, sensitive and specific and affordable, whatever we say, we need to have a good quality. Otherwise, without good quality, we can't have the product in the market. So money
So
is
you say
needed.
that award was like a steroid.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
You know, just boosted your
Yeah.
company
Yes.
like a catapult, right?
Yes.
Your startup is being incubated at the Atal Incubation Center of in the Jyoti Institute of Technology Foundation, Bangalore. So, how did you think that How did you get to an idea to join the Atal Incubation Center? How did you get to Jyoti Institute of Technology, and how has it helped your startup?
Yeah, so I would say that it's a great help from Atal Incubation Centers, because Atal Incubation Centers is spread across the entire country. It's actually a very intelligent and innovative way of Government of India to fuel the Atmanirbhar concept and actually make the dream what as startups think to do for the country is true. Okay, so and all the Atal Incubation Centers and where we are incubated, which is the AIC Jyoti Institute. So I would say that it is one amongst the incubation centers which actually excel in terms of providing a very good environment for their startups, and the incubation facilities, the lab facilities, the instrumentations, and the space what they have given is quite commendable. And not only that, because AICs are mostly associated with a lot of academia and research institutes, so that way also we get a good help in terms of getting mentoring help. And also they connect us with the seed funding opportunities also, because through these academias, these startups can actually get some fundings from DSIR or government funding. So I think it has been a great help from AIC, and I would truly like to thank AIC Jyoti Institute for giving us this opportunity to be there. The cost of like incubation at AIC is comparatively much lesser as compared to the other incubation centers where we have actually been there.
Okay.
So that actually helps us in making our own setup actually ready, because if we spend a little less on the rent part, we can use that amount to build up our own labs and the facilities. So that way I think AICs excel. Yeah.
Okay. And you had also mentioned about storing a clone at -80.
Yeah.
So has AIC Jyoti Institute of Technology helped you with
Yes,
all
they
that?
have supported us with all the like UPS systems and all those facilities. Everything is there. So
Okay.
and even during the times when during the weekends also, they will have that kind of a system where we can actually work in the lab. Their labs will be open, and they have a sophisticated instrument facility which helps a lot. So that way it is pretty good.
Sir, you want to add something?
Okay, I think just she covered everything, but I just want to sentence one is that 2018 we included at Bangalore Bioinnovation Center to start our work. 2019, I think in October, November, we decided that we should come out from this incubation center and make our own facility. That is our thought process that how long we can be incubated. We should make our own. When we come out, when we this idea come in our mind, then we search so many places. Initially, we thought that we should make our own individual, facility. There we feel that we don't have any security system, we don't have any electrical backup. For that, need a lot of money, which like we don't have. We are startup, small startup, we don't have that. And that time, luckily, we come to know about this auto incubation center, the Institute of Technology, and there we meet Dr. Anand Prasad, CEO of this AIC Institute.
He's a truly supportive man.
He supported us at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like anything, he gave us the space. Although at that time, EIC is not completely on a full-fledged functional. So still, he supported us and he gave us a space. We start there in 2019, and from there onwards, our EIC is.
And we hope to continue for many years to come if they allow.
And Dr. Prasad also helped us to get any kind of investor connection or any government funding, whatever that we just try to.
He has helped us immensely in that.
So that I would say that EIC is really a true place where startup can think to
grow. So to sum up what we discussed all this way, like being in AIC is actually a combination of support in terms of knowledge, funding, and academia connect.
So, sir, we spoke at the beginning that there needs to be an entrepreneurial quality, will to help people, and the courage to leave cozy cushion jobs and get into a startup. So, how have you converted that innovation and that creative thinking into a practical reality to get out your product in the startup?
So, as I had mentioned earlier, that the problem what we saw was that the similar symptoms, diseases, they often get undiagnosed by the doctors, even though the doctors prescribe you number of tests in the initial stages. If you go, the time it takes to get it properly diagnosed and the timely treatment to begin normally goes up to 3 to 4 days. So this problem we had seen, and that is what we were trying to address, is that we should have something which can detect at a very early stages of infection. So we selected the disease dengue, malaria, and chikungunya because all of these are vector-borne diseases, and pretty much they have similar kind of symptoms in the early stages of infection, and it becomes really difficult for the doctors to diagnose only on the basis of symptoms. Okay. So that is how the problem was there, and over these period of last 5 years, now I can say that we have the product which is actually the kit will be something like this. So it's basically we will be providing with these kind of devices. Will inside that some devices will be there, and
this is a device.
Yeah, so that's the small device. I'll show you how it looks like.
Okay.
And after we test how it looks like, I'll show you. So we'll be providing all the testing devices and the buffers for carrying out the test. There will be an instruction leaflet wherein, and it's so simple, like just with a little bit of knowledge of using these droppers, a person can do the test. Even on this table, we can do, the doctor can do in front of the patient, and we can have the results in just 10 minutes. And it will diagnose individual dengue, malaria, chikungunya, and malaria, both forms of malaria, vivax and falciparum. It can also tell you if a person is having both diseases at the same time. So that's also a case of co-infection. So that is also possible to detect. You don't need any equipments, and what we need is only your 2 drops of blood. That's it.
Yeah. We need your 2 drops of blood.
We don't need any instrumentation to do the test. And it's a visual detection, just like you would have seen in the COVID antigen detection cards. So, but yeah, those cards are pretty different. The technology here is entirely different as compared to whatever the text used in the antigen detection cards used commercially in the market. So, how the product will look like after the testing, when you have tested it. So, basically, the device will be like this. It's a very small device, and the test will be giving you in terms of the small dots, as you can see here. So this is actually the one dot which indicates that you are not suffering from any of the infection. Okay, and here you see C, MF, MB, D. So this here, if you get a spot, which means chikungunya positive, here it is virus, falciparum, here it is dengue positive. So it will look like this. This is falciparum positive blood. So this we have tested with just 2 drops of blood and no instrument, nothing needed. The results are available in 5 minutes.
Oh, that's
And to top of that, actually we have made it so affordable. In the market, if you go combined testing of all the 4 will end up in private hospitals close to 3,400. And for our transfer price will just be 400 rupees.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So all the tests can be done in 400 rupees.
Oh, that's
So it's good
going to be a
screening
huge
tool.
product.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm interviewing you today because in some months I don't think anyone will be able to get in touch also. Because this is going to be such a huge problem.
So basically, ma'am, if you see, this kind of a device is much useful in the remote parts of our country, wherein you don't get sophisticated instrumentations, you don't get good labs over there, you don't have trained technicians.
Everywhere there are floods, and when the floods start to recede, the diseases will start to catch up.
Yeah. And then those samples have to come to city, and then only they get the report. By the time the patient's situation gets bad. So devices like this can be very useful for the doctors in the PHCs.
True. How big is your distribution right now?
Right now we have not yet commercialized, ma'am. So because this is right now, we have to go for the clinical evaluation phase.
Okay.
So small scale validation we have completed, and then now we are going for the clinical evaluation, and we should be having the product launch by next year, 2024.
Okay.
Symptoms of dengue, malaria and chikungunya are similar like fever, chills and muscle ache. When patient with similar symptoms presents to the doctor, after examination, doctor suggests the patient to get a report of blood test using Assured, a diagnostic product of Ameliorate Biotech. The procedure of blood test is quite simple. Starts with blood collection from patient, post which blood is filtered using filter cup. Filtered blood is incubated with gold conjugate for 10 minutes. After incubation, the entire solution is poured into the device. After complete absorption, wash buffer is added to see the result. Single center spot is the indicator of negative sample. In this device, 2 spots are seen. The spot against D indicates dengue positive sample. In this device, 2 spots are seen. The spot against MF, which means Plasmodium falciparum positive sample. In this device, the spot is against MV, which means Plasmodium vivax positive sample. In this device, the spot is against C. This indicates chikungunya positive sample. In this device, 2 spots are seen other than the control center, which is D and MF, which indicates a case of co-infection with dengue and malaria.
So Assured, which we have named this product as Assured. So it stands for Affordable, Specific, Sensitive, User-Friendly, Rapid, Robust Equipment-Free Device. So this Assured kit, basically it's the first multiplexing kit for antigen-based detection of chikungunya, and I would say in the whole world.
Oh, so it's the only product in the whole world.
Yes.
So you people are really pioneers in this product.
Yeah, we already applied for this patent also for this product.
Yeah.
And
It's now in the public domain for examination. So hopefully next year we should get the patent granted.
That's really innovation at its best. As a startup, we know every startup will have one story where you've done something crazy to achieve a particular goal. So what is your story where you've done something crazy to achieve a particular goal?
Yeah, one thing, actually it's a difficult question to answer because the craziest thing which we both could actually see is that leaving our corporate jobs, getting very good salaries and coming to the startup thing. But yeah, jokes apart, I would say that one of the things which I always feel that it was the craziest but actually helped us to reach a goal was during the COVID times when we were not getting any blood samples. So, in order to do the testing and continue with our validation studies, we used to take our own blood samples, and in the process, we learned how to do vein puncture and get the samples frequently. So, whether if we have some fever also, so that those will be febrile samples and the febrile samples we used to collect amongst us. Sometimes even we have begged and borrowed things like we have to do it some in milligrams also. We have borrowed from some of the other labs and tried to do the work. So those kind of things we have done. So this blood drawing thing we have done a lot.
Oh my God, that's seriously, that's
Yeah,
something
that was
Yeah.
that was bad.
As Dr. Anand Prasad also donated at that
Yes,
point.
yeah,
Oh,
yes,
God. So I am so glad that he has really put his life into
Yeah, he
all
has
the
put in all
startups
the
at
efforts.
at the AIC. That's really
Yeah.
good to know. Have you received any funding till now for your startup? And is there any story behind it?
So as I mentioned earlier that when we got this Infosys Arohan, so it was a like people got to see us, and that's how it started. And we actually attended a boot camp at the KIT TBI Bhubaneswar, and there it was a 3 months accelerator program wherein we learned. It was a boot camp done by Paddock Ventures, and so there we got a good connect. We were selected in top 10 companies, and that's how it started. And through Paddock Ventures, we actually got funding from Let's Venture. That's a angel crowdfunding group, and Will Grow Foundation, and also we Will Grow in association with Sign IIT Mumbai. They had given us. So that was the initial phase, and there we raised actually close to 1.9 CR, and which was required for till the clinical evaluation phase. We had to use that money. And recently, last year, we got selected for the Tata Trust India Health Fund, and I think last 3 months back, we were also fortunate enough to be selected for Atal New Innovation Challenge, wherein they give funding to only 20 startups all over India.
All over India.
Yeah, so here again, I would like to thank AIC for being supportive, because they were the ones who told us to apply for it and at least go for the challenge. So
Yes, so they give you all the details,
yes,
how to enter,
how to
and
enter and to do that, and so this was the thing.
very nice. So, being in AIC, I think you've got a lot of connects as well.
Yeah. We got a lot of connects. That visibility came out nicely.
Yeah. From the time you've been working on this startup, how far have you come, and where do you stand now, and how far you want to go? What is your goal?
So 2019, I would say that we actually started working on the product in terms of doing the wet lab activities. So now today, I would say that we are in a pretty good stage, because our product, what we have completed the small scale validation studies, there we have seen that it is 100% sensitive, and specificity is also pretty high. And we have received the approvals from CDSCO to conduct the clinical evaluation, the formal clinical evaluation, because this device comes under type C category. So we have to do the clinical evaluation at 3 different sites all over India. So we have, since we have got the test license to do the evaluation, and we should be beginning in the next 15 days, because the monsoon season starts, and hopefully we should have the product, we should get the marketing license if everything goes on well. We should be having the marketing license and the product launch by first quarter of 2024. And here the product what we have developed it's our novel platform technology, as I mentioned earlier. So based on this technology, our future, we see that we can develop similar similar kind of a devices for other diseases also. We can extend the same technology for detecting other similar symptoms diseases. And because we see that there is a need, we have done a market research also. We did a market survey actually before embarking into this making the product. So when we did the market survey, we could see that there are a lot of challenges where the diseases with similar symptoms need to be diagnosed at an early stage. So using this technology now we can do it, and there are some demands from doctors, from government hospitals. So we'll be working on that.
Okay, as you mentioned that with the same platform technology during COVID also. We try to develop, we worked on COVID and influenza A, influenza B.
Yeah, because COVID, influenza A and influenza B all have similar symptoms again, and all are airborne. So even I don't know, like if people would have experienced that the doctors will be testing for COVID, but if it comes negative, then what it is? It could be normal viral, it could be influenza A and B, and especially if it happens in the older people, it's going to be a problematic situation. So one kit, the similar way, what we have done it for all the three, the same thing we can extend it to developing a COVID influenza A and influenza B, or any other kind of respiratory diseases.
Okay.
So the same thing can be done. So that's all that in the pipeline. And going ahead, we also feel that the visual detection, we can actually make it now AI enabled, so that it can be, the data can be transported to the doctors in the cities. The patients can take it in their mobiles, see the data, and it can be covered.
So a lot of goals to be reached as yet.
Yes, a lot of things to be done. We are very hopeful
Definitely.
and optimistic about it.
Yes. It has been a really interesting and motivating talk with Dr. Rashbihari Tunga and Dr. Vinita Srivastav Tunga of Ameliorate Biotech Private Limited. And I hope all our audience also felt it to be motivating and interesting. This is our Ink2inc series by the Fintelligent Investor channel, where we bring to you real startup stories and journeys of how ideas have become successful companies. From us, so thank you. Flower of plants.
Yes, thank you so much, Pratiksha. It was really nice talking to you, and thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The pleasure is all ours, and we hope that many youngsters watch this and get motivated to start their own startups, because India has a lot of opportunity, a lot of capability, and many, as you said, one of the craziest thing you did was to start a startup.
Yes.
That is so true. So people, they may not have the courage to quit some job and get into a startup. So I hope this really motivates them. We have Mr. Gururaj with us, who is one of the investors of Ameliorate Biotech Private Limited. Mr. Gururaj sir, when did you get associated with the company, and what are your some remarks about the company?
Okay, so I actually met them in the same place where Elevate 100 was conducted, and luckily it was on the same table that we were seated. So that's how I got connected, and I heard about their product that particular day, in brief, of course, and it was pretty interesting. I'm a person who's actually from electronics background, and I don't know, or rather, I should say that I'm an alien to biotech, pharma, and all that stuff. But yeah, there was a bit of interest in my mind always, because I'm pretty inquisitive about many things. So I thought, let me take a little bit deep dive into it, and I started talking, frequenting, and then got interested in their idea and product which they explained. So I was very quickly. I think I only asked saying that I would like to make some investments just to be associated, and that's how it started. Knowing about them, if you ask me, really, I didn't know anything about them, because that was only hardly, I think, about half an hour is what I had met them. So slowly understanding their background, IIT, KGP, both of them doctorates, and who has worked in multiple big companies and all that stuff, I could kind of relate, because I'm also from a corporate background. I could relate that, okay, somebody at that level who's taken this kind of a risk in life and come down with their idea and is trying to do, and especially they're not in their hometown. You see, that's the most important. For me, it's like an advantage and a bottleneck. So I always look at it as their courage to actually do it, even though it's a bottleneck for them, right? So that's how I got to know about the product, and have. And from then, I've been associated with them, helping with whatever the needs are there.
That's nice. And what do you think about the product?
The product, as I earlier mentioned, so I never had any idea about these pharma product and all that stuff. Of course, I had a few
a bit of idea about medicines because I had actually tried to open on medical stores, thinking that it has a lot of margin, all that stuff. So I didn't know anything about these kind of kits. And all that. So once I heard about the kit which they are developing, I ventured into the market, found out the details about what are the competition and all that stuff, and then I realized okay, it has a huge market, and that's when I got a little poised into the idea saying that I can invest. I mean, this is one of the it's going to be a game changer. I can say not only in India, anywhere else because patent is there, they're protected, and the only antigen-based kit nobody else has got. Since I also did my own, research as I mentioned, I know exactly what it is and where once it is out in the market, I mean, Ameliorate is going to be top. Simple.
Absolutely, we totally
All the big guys are going to run behind these two, saying that they want to acquire them or this or that. After some time, you will also not get them
exactly
nearby you to get an interview. Good that you have done it.
Absolutely, that's what I mentioned that time. Like, I'm really glad that we had this interview. I'm feeling really lucky and privileged to be here in your presence today, and I'm sure our audience will also love this and be motivated by not only your story but the way you've come up in life, your product, the way you want to serve the society.
These two are they're so this thing that they do everything, but they're so humble, modest. They don't want anybody to say anything. It's like that, but that's what they are. I'm really proud that I'm associated with them somehow. It's like luck or God's gift that I met them, and I don't know. Their parents and their kids, they're all so damn lucky. I feel because these guys have really doing something which is out of the way and nobody else has done it.
Yes, definitely. We hope all of you found this motivating as well. This is the new series Ink to Ink, brought to you by the Fintelligent Investor channel, where we take you through the journeys of real startups, journeys of an idea growing into a successful company.